Hello. Today I just wanted to give you a little bit of information on the rubrics that you'll be using and will be using to grade you for your presentational writing and speaking for your assessments this week. So the first one I want you to look at with me, just review quickly, is the presentational writing. There's a link to this rubric on the It's Learning page for this week. So you can pull it up and print it if you would like to. But I'm just going to talk about some highlights on this particular rubric. First of all, if you were looking across the top, you'll see that there are proficiency levels. Those levels are novice low, novice mid, and novice high. Basically, what that means is that at this point in time in your progress towards learning Spanish, that you would all be considered novice or beginners in Spanish. And so you'd either be at the low, mid, or high level of a beginner in Spanish. So a little bit more detail on the proficiency levels. A novice low means that a student is below or approaching the expectations that we would have had for this performance-based assessment. A novice mid would mean that the student would meet the expectations at this level. And obviously then novice high would mean that a student would exceed the expectations that we would have for a student who had been learning Spanish for the period of time that you have been learning. Keep in mind that novice high or exceeds expectations is where you would need to be marked in order to get an A on this assessment. The criteria for grading on this particular assessment is going to be the task, comprehensibility, like can I understand you, vocabulary use, language control, communication strategies, and mechanics. Just a little bit more information then on task. The one who would score the 4, which is the highest, would be a student who completed the task by using a variety of learned statements, whereas the student who would get a 2 on that particular criterion would have completed the task only using a few very basic memorized words. We understand at this point in time that you have fairly limited vocabulary, so when we're talking about completing the task, we want you to do it to the fullest point that you can, considering what we have taught you so far. Comprehensibility, how well does the audience understand me? In this case, for your writing, your instructors are your audience, and a person who would get 4 would, the instructor would say, the student can be easily understood and their message is clear. Whereas a student who would be getting a 2 in this particular area would not be able to be understood or only with great effort, and the message is not clear. Vocabulary use, how extensive and applicable is my vocabulary? A 4, I consistently use extensive vocabulary to complete the task, whereas a 2, I use extremely limited and or repetitive vocabulary. Again, for this particular assessment, we understand that you have not learned a lot of vocabulary yet. So we would not be expecting the same kind of level of vocabulary use as we would later in the year. Language control is your grammar. So how accurate are my grammatical structures? I correctly use grammatical structures appropriate to the task, and errors do not interfere. So the grammatical structures that you use don't prohibit me from being able to understand what you're writing about. And then a lower score on that would be I do not use grammatical structures appropriate to the task, and errors usually interfere. Your best strategy for this is to just review the things that we have given you in the vocabulary or in the different lessons, so that you can do a lot of looking at the structures that we've provided for you and just using those structures exactly as they are in the material that we gave you in this writing assessment. Communication strategies. How well do I respond to the prompt? I respond fully and appropriately to all or almost all parts of the prompt, and my response is well organized. So when you see the task, if you're able to check off everything in that task and it seems to be well organized, then you would be getting a 4 for this. And a 2 would be I respond inadequately to most parts of the prompt and my response is disorganized and or irrelevant. Mechanics, how accurately do I use correct spelling, capitalization, and punctuation? A 4-1, this would be I make no or almost no errors in spelling, capitalization, and punctuation. And a 2 would be I make little or no attempt to use correct spelling, capitalization, and punctuation. So when you edit this writing, please make sure that you are using the correct spelling, the correct punctuation. In the assignment Dropbox, I've provided you with the letters with accent marks on them and the upside down question mark and the upside down exclamation mark. So you can copy and paste those into your writing before you turn it in. You're also going to be graded on your presentational speaking, and that is a part that's going to be posted on a Flipgrid. And for the presentational speaking, we will only be grading 2 categories, your fluency and your pronunciation and your accent. So by fluency, we mean you have smooth and fluid speech, few to no hesitation, no attempts to search for words, and your volume is excellent. So we want you to practice this before you actually record it on Flipgrid. Remember, you can record it on Flipgrid and then delete that one and re-record it. So make sure that you practice it before you turn it in. And the lowest grade on this would be a 6, and this would be where the speech is slow, hesitant, and strained, except for short memorized phrases, difficult to perceive continuity in speech, and inaudible. So make sure that I can hear what you're saying. Then the second thing we're going to grade on for this part of the assessment is your pronunciation and your accent. A 10 would be pronunciation is excellent, good effort at accent, and a 6 would be pronunciation is lacking and hard to understand, no effort towards a native accent. So again, at this point in time, we're looking for evidence that you have put some work into this assignment that you're given and that you've practiced and that you were careful to edit your writing and practice your speaking. Remember then that the rubrics are linked on your It's Learning page. You can go back and look at them again, and that you should just do your very best as you finish this assignment for us. I'm looking forward to seeing your writing and your speaking both. Adios.